I cannot promise you gold, but I can promise you death, glory, and violence. This is the deal I made with my REIKSGUARD, and I'm a rubber duck of war, leading the forces of the Empire under the guise of the Blind Bandit, up against the Broken Lance and his evil Dark Elf legions who have come to our realm to raid, pillage, and burn, and we shall not stand for it. This is going to be a fight between the Empire and the Dark Elves. I'm very excited to hop into this one, so let's review our army. Now, I don't often play Empire, but when I do, I like to have a nice central core of range, a bucket ton of infantry to protect, and then some hard-hitting knights. It's often a fun way to play, and we've gone for just that. We have rather flimsy spearmen in the backs and on the flanks. They do a job, though, dying for Sigma and keeping the enemy at bay. And in the very front, we have some of our favourite lunatics of Sigma themselves, the Naked Fanatics. They should be able to hold the line for a very, very long time, being unbreakable, and hopefully they'll be able to drag down a load of bleak swords and a load of dread spears as they do so. In that central range core, we do have double handgunners, one on the right hand side, and on the left we have the silver bullets, and not 100% must pick every time with Empire, but they're so powerful with their stalk and huge burst of damage. Right in the centre we have maybe the most underrated regiment of renown here for the Empire, the Sterling's Revenge. Free Company Militia. They can dish out a bucket ton of damage from long range, plus they have eye patches and cutlasses, so you know they're good in a scrap of close quarters. Leading the range core, we do have a Bright Wizard on foot with his flaming sword, coming in with Fireball, Cascading Fire Cloak, and Burning Head. And then backing up this crew, we do have some REIKSGUARD, both of which are going to be chevroned up. These ones to double silver chevron, led by their warrior priest, who shall be blessing them with the might of Sigma to embolden them to greater feats of heroism. He's going to be coming in with all of his buffs, as well as a scroll of shielding. Leading the actual army from a vanguard position, we do have Marcus Wolfhart with his Hunter's Snare and Amber Bow. Hunter's Snare is a must-have in my opinion. Free nets from Marcus is very, very nice. The Amber Bow, however, is something that we're going to be trialling out today just to shoot manticores and other large targets. In the distance, we do also have the Zintlers REIKSGUARD, who look fantastic in this kind of gothic cavalry style of armor. I'm a big fan of them. They do have that Vanguard deploy. I love the little comets on the head of the horses here, and we're putting them right behind the enemy battle line just in case he's gone for dark shards or repeated bolt throws or anything. Now they're going to have to do the long march back to friendly territory because my opponent has brought one hell of a rock and roll build. Broken Lance in the skies has gone for the Raven Heralds, who can do a load of long-range damage, and he's gone for a bit of a snipe force. So up in the air, we have a Dreadlord as well with the crossbow. He's going to be coming in with that nice extra bolt and all the goodies that he can indeed bring. So the Dark Dreaded Dragon is going to cloud out the skies alongside a Ferromanticore as well. Relatively cheap and cheerful with the ground force. We have a load of bleak swords dotted all the way along and dread spears. Maybe not cheerful, might not be the best word to describe them, but hey, they're here to reap bloodshed and carnage. On the ground, we have a Sorceress or Beast coming with Amber Spear as well as that Manticore summon for even more range pressure. And then something very scary for my build, a bucket ton of Knights. We have Cold One Knights on the back, we have Knights of the Ebon Claw in their regal purple and green, or yeah, I'm going to say it's a green tint, purple and green tint cloaks there. They are hard hitting, about as elite as they can come with 120 armor. We don't have much to pierce the thick hides of these units. Double Cold Ones on this side as well, apart from our range, and we really need to try to protect that at all costs. It is definitely going to be a big win factor for us. So we do have the REIKSGUARD, who are brave men, of course. I did tell them they're probably not going to get out of this alive, and I brought them to the battlefield, but they will receive plenty of glory, I'm sure. And they all turned up, so that's good leadership by us, I'm going to claim. But Cold One Knights are anti-large, and REIKSGUARD are anti-infantry, but they work as very expensive Empire Knights. You can pin the enemy in place fantastically. The first Amber Bow shots have been let loose. A couple missed, but for the most part they connected, doing some relatively decent damage to the Ferromanticore. And for Marcus Wolfhart's troubles, you can see the purple magical fire coming from the Dreadlord and going to clobber Marcus himself. Now, he's a foot character, so he does get knocked down, so not all of those bows shots are fully going to connect here. And now he's just going to be launching shots back in retaliation and completely missing. That's my boy Marcus. You keep it up. I'm sure you'll do fine this battle, I have faith. We are going to be getting driven back there, of course, by the Dark Elf advance. There's no real point for us to push forward too aggressively. We've taken a nice defensive stance, so it's hard on the right-hand side for my opponent to push through due to the natural terrain. And unfortunately, my opponent did notice that we have, a full unit of Zintlers REIKSGUARD running back here. So the Raven Heralds have set upon them with their crossbows, and there's a Ferromanticore here, so we're like, run! He's trying to flee Osgiliath to get back to Minas Tirith moment, as shields raised, fleeing as we are struck from the sky. However, a beautiful charge in the front line. The REIKSGUARD charge through their own men, straight into the Bleak Swords. They're the hammer of good, and they just get this unit of Bleak Swords down to about half health off the rip. Slightly less successful charge on the other side. We did have to pull out a bit quicker because Colwyn Knights are starting to advance on this left flank. Now, we also want to open up our shots. Silver Bullets are unleashing hell upon the enemy. We're actually going to be focusing down the Dreadlord where possible. Sterling's Revenge are shooting shots into the front. And we're going to have to push Spearmen forwards here to try to plug the gaps and help drag down the Cold One Knights. Unfortunately for us, our REIKSGUARD are in big problems. You can hear the deafening scream of a Ferromanticore being birthed in unnatural ways into the world. And this is why Marcus is so good. Hunter Snare goes down. All of our range units are still active. The Handgunners, the Sterling's Revenge, the Silver Bullets. And we are eating dragon tonight, boys. We are unleashing hell upon this beast. Down to 1,200 HP and dropping rapidly. It does break and start to run. We get a lovely burning head to counterpunch this. I'm throwing everything at the wall right now with Knights charging in, burning heads coming in. The dragon is fleeing and Marcus gets that last shot and down the fell creature falls. Just another Wednesday for Marcus. Unfortunately, though, our entire back line is now compromised, which isn't obviously quite so good. You can see Colwyn Knights hopping on top of the Silver Bullets, Manticore on top of the Revenge, and the other unit of Gunners, I don't even know where they are anymore. Here they are, getting demolished by the Knights of the Ebon Claw. The Warrior Priest trying to rally the troops around him, bringing down the Wrath of Sigma with his mighty hammer, bonking enemies left, right, and centre. And oh my god, what a shot as he clobbers even more of those Knights, but he does stand alone in a tide of filthy Elgi. The Silver Bullets are trying to run away. We do have the Zintlers REIKSGUARD, who have basically been bullied the entire day so far from the Raven Heralds as well as that Manticore, are going to be charging in, just trying to have some impact on the battlefield. This unit of Silver Chevron REIKSGUARD have been amazing so far. They're hammering down the enemy battle lines. It looks like we have managed to force off this Ferromanticore, which is glorious stuff, and the Silver Bullets are safe at least for now. Another Manticore is born, and he is on the warpath. The REIKSGUARD are trying to take on double cavalry at the moment. One unit of Colwyn Knights and the Knights of the Ebon Claw. However, we pop Cascade and Firecloak, giving us that juicy 58 melee defense on top of our 120 armor. We are so tanky and hard to break down. Unfortunately, the Revenge do start to break and flee, so our bullets are still firing. That pesky Ferromanticore, the second summon of the day, is coming after Marcus Wolfheart, who is a little bit squishy. The Zintlers REIKSGUARD do charge in, just trying to save their Liege Lord there, and pinning the beast, jabbing it in its eyes, even if it will cost them death. But the Raven Heralds have actually been a really nice pick by my opponent. He had so many large targets for me to focus down and cavalry. I haven't really been able to shoot them, so they've used up the majority of their ammunition and are doing a huge amount of damage to Marcus at the moment. We have a weird amalgamation of troops down here. Some Spearmen, some Unbreakable troops, the Warrior Priest and the Bright Wizard are trying to rally the lads together, seeing that Marcus is doing a tactical retreat, we're going to say. Going to be quite kind to him today. And of course we still have the REIKSGUARD, who are just consistently prowling on the Cold One Knights. I'm trying to break them and hold them back, buying more and more time for the Revenge to shoot those pistols in. And they are dragging down the Knights rather effectively, it would seem. Ferromanticore is continuing to hunt and hound Marcus, but he is legging it for now, desperately trying to escape. We do have a few units who can come back to the battlefield, but for the most part, this central mass is really where it's at. And despite the fact we've killed our opponent's Lord, balance power is still very even. Raven Heralds go for a risky charge down on top of the Revenge to try to break them. They do just that before fleeing before the might of the REIKSGUARD once more, though we may have actually caught one of them here and start to drag him down. That scream! One of these REIKSGUARD was so pumped up, though. He's like, ah! And he's now going to be bounced around, trying to finish off as much infantry as possible. So I do see his Ferromanticore. It's moving towards Marcus Wolfheart, but there's no way we can drag it down. So the Silver Bullets, oh no, these are just the basic handgunners. They are in a death-defying moment here. Reload, reload, on comes the enemy. And we need one last volley. We line up those shots and unleash a deadly salvo, and so many of the Knights go down. That's going to be enough to let those Colwyn Knights feel, you know what, this probably isn't worth it, and they are going to flee. We actually have some REIKSGUARD available to try to chase them off. Ferromanticore, though, unfortunately for us, is going to be hounding down Marcus Wolfheart. We do have some Silver Bullets here trying to support him and break the Manticore, which is wavering. The rest of my opponent's army does indeed break, and it looks like, no! Marcus dies at the end. I didn't even know that. So Marcus, unfortunately, goes down. We're not able to save him, and thus it becomes a Pyrrhic victory. Can you really celebrate when your lord dies? I'm going to say yes, because we still won the battle and we killed many a Dark Elf today. That's going to make Broken Lance think twice before he does indeed raid Empire territory. I really like the name of Broken Lance, by the way. That should definitely be the chapter in a book or something. But yeah, well played to my Dark Elf opponent. Really fun build. I was actually very impressed with the Raven Heralds. 1,664 damage value. They did some good work. And as for ourselves, it really did come down to the REIKSGUARD trying to perform as well as possible. This unit with over 2,000 damage value. But before we delve into all the kills, damage dealt, damage value and stuff, before we do get there, if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure to let me know down below in the comments what was your favourite moments. Leave a big old thumbs up and subscribe as well. We drop Total War Warhammer content basically every single day, with some extra streams and some extra streams on Twitch as well, just for your enjoyment. In fact, there's probably going to be a Twitch stream later today. If you do want to join in that, there's links down below to Twitch, to my Patreon, to my Discord. On my Discord, you can indeed submit replays to be cast on the channel. Just let me know if they're on the beta or if they're live. This game was actually played on live. It's So, you know, the REIKSGUARD actually did pretty good, considering this is not on the Cav beta. This is just the REIKSGUARD doing what REIKSGUARD do best, and still performing, you know, really quite well. So once again, well played to the Broken Lance. It was a good fun game, but let's go through our build first. Marcus Wolfheart, 1,336 damage value and 16 kills. Not shabby, but his real big impact, his moment, his hero's moment on the battlefield was dropping that net on the enemy lord and just open up fire, lads. Open up fire, and we destroyed that dragon. The Bright Wizard did a relatively solid job. Cascade and Fire Cloak was cast. We did actually, I believe, shoot a REIKSGUARD in the face who was trying to bodyguard us with a fireball, which I noticed in the battle, but we didn't catch today, unfortunately. Save him his blushes a little bit. Nice bullet in the head as well to try to clear out some of the chaff. 510 damage value, 76 kills. War Priest did okay, he was still relatively healthy at the end, and despite that still managed to get 500 damage value, trying to rally the REIKSGUARD around him, and the Spearman did a relatively solid job. 270 damage value, 586, 385, 220. Their job was to hold the line, and that's just what they did. As for our Lunatics here, they performed okay, 500 damage value and 270. This is where it's going to be really interesting. The ranged troops were allowed to shine because of the REIKSGUARD and because of the nets, and I think they did a really good job, so let's double check. 644 damage value, not quite as much as I was expecting. Sterling's Revenge, 1,067 damage value and 1,645 from the Silver Bullets. Such nice burst damage on these units. They really can be very, very clutch in a tight spot. As for the REIKSGUARD, it's definitely going to be a tale of 3 different units. On the left, they were able to get their lances a little bit wet with the blood of the enemy. 694 damage value isn't shabby, but the middle one was the one we managed to keep alive and do the most cycle charging with. 2,000 damage value, 10k damage dealt, and 115 kills. It was some really awesome stuff. The Zintlers, I'm afraid, it is the risk of doing Vanguard. I do love Vanguard in troops. Sometimes it works out really well. Sometimes it goes horribly wrong. 481 damage value, I guess isn't the worst, considering they did absorb basically all the ammunition from the Raven Heralds and distract a Manticore for large parts of the battlefield. For my opponent, I'd actually quite like the Dreadlord pick. Only 275 damage value today, though. They got no breath attacks off, didn't get engaged in combat, I don't believe, and just got that, you know, snared and shot to pieces. If they had survived, or at least, you know, got away with like half health or something, my opponent might well have won the game there. The Sorceress of Beast, only 93 damage value, but those Manticores are such a pain in my butt. Having 3 Manticores running around the battlefield is really hard to protect your back line with. As for the Dread Spears, let's have a little look across the board. Not too much damage value on any of these basic troops. Nothing to write home about. The highlights being 390 damage value and 340. The Cavalry was really scary, actually, against my build. I was a little unsure of my build at the start. I was like, oh god, are these knights going to overrun me? But they're a little bit underwhelming. 630 damage value, 963, 1,000 damage value, and 1,100 on the Knights of the Ebon Claw. But because we've been able to pin them in with our cavalry, eventually we managed to drag them down through sheer weight of number, and faith, steel, and plenty of gunpowder. Raven Heralds are very good, 1.6k damage value, assassinating Marcus, assassinating the Zintlers, doing a really good... I mean, they'll always do a good job if there's nothing to really harass them in the skies, but they are very squishy, which is kind of their main problem. Manticore, 400 damage value, was kind of distracted by the shiny horses for a while and didn't actually get into the best positions. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace, and as always, stay awesome.